That was for 40 hours.
Well, I'm here 20 years. 20.
I told you, that's a program.
Okay, we're up, ready to go? Okay, Mr. Rodriguez?
Mr. Rodriguez, I
Yes,
just, I
Council
just want,
President.
just for a second, I just did quick calculations, I got 24.85.
Thank
Twenty-
you.
$24.85.
Well, he figured in the benefits,
Benefits and pensions, sir.
which he got too.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez.
So, just on going on that, because I was basically, it was not even my intention on bring the employees, because I was just talking about the highest pay, and it's a table for every single title, how much they get paid in the state of New Jersey. I don't know why this lady all the times, or this employee actually, she acts as an employee right here. When she comes over here, she just come on, and that's her prerogative, to actually defend the mayor, council, that's her prerogative. But every time that we come here, we should come here for business purposes that relate and pertain to township purposes. And if I'm here, it's because I'm questioning you right now, the council, that's fine and justifiable. You did your work, some of them maybe are underpaid for the title, fine. My only question is, will you do the same in the future when you realize that the rateable for some titles, again, some titles, are overpaid in comparison with other municipalities in the state of New Jersey? Will you be willing to do the same? Mr. Council President?
Your question, your question is if we're looking into other towns for raises, we'll do the same thing if they're overpaid to reduce the time. I don't know if you can legally do that. Honestly, I would have to get a personal opinion from our attorney. I don't know if you can just go in and say, well, you were making 96,000, but we're gonna knock you down to 70,000. Legally, I don't know. I can't answer that.
No, that is fine, and I understand that. The only venue that I'm trying to look.
You can't, the answer is you can't do that.
Okay.
And I'll tell you something, when you were council president, you couldn't do that either. And these tables were all established while you were the council president, so I don't understand what you're talking about. I mean, you can't change tables because you just want to. You know that.
Yeah. With the same note, I love when actually they come to me in a political way like that, face to face to me, so I can just rebuttal. Because I have the time right here. Right now,
This is on the ordinance.
Right,
do I have the floor?
yes, Mr. Rodriguez, no, but
And
as long as it
yes,
pertains to this ordinance.
on the white collar.
Okay,
What I'm trying to say is, if we are using that justification, not everybody's getting the 2% increase. Not everybody. It's a few exceptions to the list, which I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing. All I'm saying, if we are using that logic on going outside to other municipalities, can it be done the same way but in reverse? That if some of our employees are overpaid, some titles are overpaid, can we do the same? That's all I'm asking. So if we use them to increase the pay salaries, can we do the same logic to decrease the pay salaries? Of course not. So I don't think, bottom line, you just said it before, that it cannot be done. So I don't think that in the future, we should be using the same rationality to increase or to do pay increases. Because if we're gonna go outside of Brook and look into what other municipalities or other employees in other municipalities are making, might as well just do the same overall to all the titles, not just a few. Because how good is to increase that guy that is making $2 but not doing with the guy that is making $200? So I don't believe, that's all I'm saying. I'm not disputing whether it was done or not, but I don't think that it's a proper practice. Proper practice should be equal, should be balanced, and should be fair to everybody, to all the employees. I'm just saying, whatever you're gonna approve tonight with this ordinance, it's nothing that I can do. You have the votes, you already passed it on first ordinance, that's fine. What I'm trying to say, look into the future. Whenever you're gonna approve something like this, also should be looked into both ways. Because it shouldn't just go one way whenever it's time to increase. It should be also time to decrease if someone is getting overpaid. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good night.
Motion to close?
I need a motion to close.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I don't think that's a good, to use as a scale, which another town might be in better financial shape than us. And they might be able to afford to give their employees raises, okay? We can't, we're telling, like I say again, we always say we have no money. If we don't have no money for this, we don't have no money for that. And there are a lot of employees here that just live off that 2% and don't get anything. They've been here for years, and they don't get looked at. Like I say, Pat was one of them, okay? She said that she didn't get raises for years. Is that right? I mean, if you sign a contract and it's for 2%, I mean, Howie will tell you, he just negotiated a contract in motor vehicle. You know what their contract was? 0, 0, 0 for 3 years, okay? We gotta tighten the belt up, because, like I said on Tuesday, we always complain we have no money, and yet we got it to throw out. We don't, do we? That's what we have to decide. Do we or do we not have money? Some issues, we don't have any money. When it comes to police, we have no money, okay? There's never no money there for the cops, never. When it comes to other issues, we always have money. You either have it or you don't, and you can't use, like I used the example last week. If you're living in a neighborhood and your next door neighbor puts a built-in pool and you say, oh, I gotta be, he's got a built-in pool, you might not be able to afford one. You're gonna go out and put one in, put yourself in debt, and live like that? That's what we're doing. We're digging ourselves a hole here. Okay, we're digging ourselves a hole. We should freeze. I know that the workers don't wanna hear that, but Pat, you don't know what it is to pay for benefits. You only contribute a portion.
I pay 10,000 a year.
Portion,
My husband's
a portion,
working.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
then you
I
do know, benefits are not cheap. And I mean, you look at big companies, what they're doing now, FedEx, UPS, they're cutting them, they're paying for the worker, not the family, if you want it. And what do? We grandfather ourselves in, we change petitions and stuff like that. That wasn't right. That wasn't right, and in the meantime, we have no cops on the street. Okay? And we can't fight you because we have to use our money to fight our money. Because our money is the money that you use to fight us. Okay, so we get a hit on both sides. Okay, the only time we can fight you is at election time. Okay, and send messages that way. They're cheap messages, but I guess they're gonna be the most effective ones. And that's how the people have to be able to fight it. But we cannot keep doing this and doing a select few positions, singling them people out, because like I said, there are other people here that have worked 6, 7 years that I know of personally that haven't gotten a raise. Haven't gotten a raise, and you can't do that. And like I said, I don't think just from hearing the meetings and coming to the meetings, we don't have the money. We don't have the money. And yeah, like I say, our taxes are going up, everything's going up, everything goes up. Health insurance this year, what do you think, you guys are gonna get a free ride? Your rates are gonna go up. You're gonna shop it around, the rates are gonna be way up, way up. And we don't plan for the future, we don't plan. We always, just get by, or, like I said, we're digging ourselves a hole. And I don't think, like I say, I don't think we don't have the money to throw around. And we can't use other towns as examples, because we don't know, like Mr. Mulesek says, we don't know what position they're in with their tax appeals and stuff like that. We don't have it to give out. And we just can't keep doing it.
Just one thing, just while we're on that and it's fresh in my mind, I did speak to our insurance representative, and we will not be getting, according to him, we will not be getting a health insurance increase this year.
Well, you're probably the only one in America.
We're doing a good job, thank you.
I should look for him.
Anyone else like to be heard? Please state your name,
Yes.
address.
Patricia Branger, 302 East Lansing Court, Saddlebrook, as I said, employee. I thank you for the 2%. I appreciate it. We haven't gotten, the 2% for everybody wasn't given out to everyone as of this moment either. I mean, certain unions got it, where it's all according to your contract until when the budget is passed. The budget, I guess, did not get passed until late, so those people will wait. As far as it goes with us, we negotiate just as fair as we could. We did make concessions, we did give up some things, and the town did work with us on giving up some, they had theirs, it's a give and take as it always is in negotiations. Like I said, when we did the furlough days a couple of years ago, it was to save people's jobs. That's what we were told. They lost their jobs anyway. They were retired, they were hired back, but we did take the 15 days. It wasn't given back to us when they let the people go. So, I mean, the unions have negotiated. We have, had to do this kind of stuff, and we have done our part for Saddlebrook too. As far as my family working here, well, I don't know who he was talking about. And as far as Mr. Rodriguez, just because he brought me up, I never mentioned his name or talked about him. He was on the council. He makes himself, when he comes up here, let you know that he was out in the public. He was a council person. Everything he did was in the public. So you have a right to comment on that as a public citizen. And I have a right to comment on that too. I don't know what he thinks I said about him, but he has a record, and he's proud of it, and he brings it up when he comes here. So when someone comes and talks about his record, he's got to be open to that too. He can't get all upset over it. He did these things, and while he was there, he voted on these contracts and did these things too. As a matter of fact, people were hired in jobs at more money than the people before them were making because the jobs were low here. Whether it was right or wrong, it happened. And some of the people that were here, who were in the jobs and were making whatever, still are not making what the people that are here, somebody might be here 7 or 8 years, the people that are here 20 years are still not making what those people are making, and that was the previous administration that did that. They have a right to do whatever they have a right to do. I doubt a union's gonna complain if somebody's hired at more money, because that would be going against what you think too. I mean, we don't have any provisions that say that if a person's hired for more money, then you can fight that. You want everybody to make enough money in the union. So if we didn't argue it, it was because, what do you do? Argue and say our people shouldn't make more? I mean, how do you argue that? I didn't believe, as a person who didn't get more money at that time, I didn't believe that was fair, but that's the way it goes. That's politics too, and I work with politicians. That's just the way it is. And as far as me, I've had to eat it, I've done it, I've done my job. I didn't stop working because it paid me less than the new people. I just didn't think it was fair. I had a lot more experience in my job. But I thank you, because I did stay in the job. I love working for the town. I love my job. And as far as politicians come and go, and I'm still here. So thank you.
Anyone else like to be heard?
Motion to close.
No, we need a motion to close. Second by Ms. Mason. All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Saddlebrook that the ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the Township of Saddlebrook, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, for compensation of employees, servants, or professional staff, white-collar employees," does now pass on second and final reading, and that the Township Clerk be directed to advertise said ordinance or title thereof in the press, together with the notice of the date of passage of said ordinance according to law.
Need a roll call. Motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cavalier. Roll.
Councilman Samuka.
Make a comment, sir?
Yes.
Well, on the issue of raises, now, just so we're clear, I think about 8 to 10 people who work for the town put in for raises, and some of them were substantial. And I believe that 3 were granted above the 2%. I just want to make it clear that some of these people, and most of our employees, are skilled and they are trained, and we have a lot this is an investment. We're invested in them, they're invested in the town. So when we look at other towns, I think it's perfectly acceptable to do that, to just get a basis for what other people are paying their employees. Because certainly, if somebody can make 70, let's just use some numbers which are made up, but we're giving somebody 40,000, and the general consensus is that other towns, and I don't think that we are doing, let's put it that we're like in the middle of the road. I'm not comparing it to Alpine, and I'm also not comparing it to Camden, but towns that are around us, that we would feel is in the same general financial shape. They're paying them $75,000. Well, how long are we going to keep that person? They're going to work here for a year or two, get the experience, and they're going to go someplace else where they can get that money. We want them here because we are training them. We're investing in them. And we're putting, if we do that, we have a revolving door. With all due respect to some of the people in the audience, these aren't $7.25 an hour people who pump gas. That one guy leaves on a Tuesday, and on a Wednesday, you bring another guy in to do the same thing. These are trained employees. We're invested in them. So I don't think you can just look at it and say, well, we can't look at anybody else. We want to keep these people because they're doing a good job. If they don't do a good job, they're out. But if they're doing a good job and they're working for the town, I think that, excuse me, I can't think because you're talking in the back. But when they're doing a good job, they should be compensated. We don't have to give them the highest rate in all of America, but certainly they're entitled to a fair raise. This isn't slave labor here, where you're gonna come to work for Saddlebrook, you're gonna get minimum wage, you're gonna be treated like dirt, and we're just gonna leave in a year, and we're just gonna have a revolving door. Because I know that from the person sitting in an office to the person that, collects leaves off the street, everybody wants to be treated fairly, and everyone should be treated fairly by their employers. Because if we treat them fairly, they're gonna treat us fairly, and they're gonna do a better job for the community.
So, roll call, please.
Councilman Samaluka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazer?
Yes.
Councilman Halco?
Yes.
Councilman Camilleri?
Yes.
Council President Conti?
Abstain.
Next ordinance is ordinance number 1564-13. It's the ordinance of the Township of Saddlebrook, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey. Compensation of employees, servants, professional staff for the blue collar to be continued until the December 12th meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Mazer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have ordinance 1565-13, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 120 entitled Licenses of the Township Code of the Township of Saddlebrook, amending Section 120-5 license fees to be continued to the December
Need a
12th.
motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Halco, I need a second.
The reason we're tabling this is because we're still working on some numbers?
Yes, on it.
Okay,
So is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Similar. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have ordinance for first reading, 1566-13, an ordinance amending Chapter 196 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 43, entitled Schedule 10 Stop Intersections to include Steinway Road and Dewey Avenue for first reading.
Any motion?
Motion.
Motion by
Second.
Second by Mr. Halco. Need a roll call?
Councilman Samaluka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazer?
Yes.
Councilman Halco?
Yes.
Councilman Camilleri?
Yes.
Council President Conti?
Yes.
Be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Saddlebrook that the ordinance amending Chapter 196 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 43 entitled Schedule 10 Stop Intersections to include Steinway Road and Dewey Avenue heretofore passed on first reading, be further considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on the 12th day of December 2013 at 7:00 p.m., or sooner after as the matter can be reached at the Municipal Building, 93 Market Street, and that at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance according to law, with the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance we further consider for final passage.
I need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Similar, second by Mr. Halco. Roll call?
Councilman Samaluka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazer?
Yes.
Councilman Halco?
Yes.
Councilman Camilleri? Council President Conti?
Councilman, through the chair.
Before I was gonna ask the
I was
mayor to
going to.
address the town on that.
Thank you, Councilman Simaluka. As everyone knows, with the improvement of Market Street and the light on Caldwell Avenue, which I may bring everyone up to date on that while we're getting to this next ordinance. When I sat on the planning board when I was first mayor, Caldwell Avenue was part of the developers agreement. That developer, which is the town square as we know it here in Saddlebrook today, now that was all those years, 10, 12 years ago, he was to have paid for that traffic light. After I left office, it was never pursued. I came back into office and I pursued it, and not only did we pursue it, the engineer had it done in a very timely basis. It was desperately needed for not only the safety of the residents in the neighborhood, those that travel Market Street, but most importantly, for the safety of the children with Veterans Field. And that was done expeditiously, and we're all proud of that, and many residents are grateful also. And we went and litigated to recoup some of the monies, and we've been doing our due diligence there. Now, with that being said, and the traffic light being up, the residents of Dewey Avenue have incurred an additional problem. There's more traffic going down their streets. The southbound traffic on Erie, making the left-hand turn onto Dewey. So, additionally to add to the fact about, we had some public discussion here about transparency, and particularly Caldwell Avenue, and this is somewhat relative. As mayor, I've decided I call my own mayor's meetings, and I usually have them at the senior center. I was the one that called a mayor's meeting to the public regarding Caldwell. Even before it came, I allowed the residents an opportunity to voice their opinion on LaGregny. That's transparency. Now I see an issue developing on Dewey Avenue. I called a meeting, senior center, Anthony was there, Andrew was there. 2 people. We didn't go over our sunshine law. Anyway, the bottom line, this ordinance tonight is going to allow for no left-hand turns heading in a southerly direction on Dewey. We've included in Hobson and Steinway just in case we've run into a problem, and I know I'm going to have other mayors' meetings. The meeting was attended by I would say, everyone on Dewey Avenue, and there was 1 person represented on Hobson. Those that were notified also on Steinway, they did not attend. I will be in contact with them because as this left turn sign goes up, I'm sure people are going to start using Hobson and Steinway, and we're having another problem. The police had been out with their equipment. Some of the traffic after 7 o'clock, speeders, maybe one time 70 miles an hour, and we all know how that street is narrow, no curb, sidewalks, whatever. We're also putting up a 3-way stop sign on Sampson and Dewey. That's for the further protection of those coming down from Veterans and then heading in the easterly direction. And we also have installed some signs, some safety signs for children, and that was done immediately. So it was a productive meeting. It was a problem, an issue, but the one thing the Dewey residents said, please don't ever remove that light from Caldwell because it's been our saving grace. So if Andrew would like to add something relative to this ordinance. Thank you, Council President.
No, it was a productive meeting. I forget how many, what did you think, about 40 people, 50 people? And we talked about their concerns and what we can do, and the main thing, what is that? Is that you? Okay. The main thing I think that we all agreed on was that the stop sign at the intersection of Steinway and Dewey would do a lot to quell traffic. We've got a lot of people that were concerned about the traffic and the volume of traffic, but it seemed like a lot of people actually were concerned with the speed, which seems to be, on a very narrow street, even going 30 miles an hour kind of seems like you're going 50. So the police are going to do their due diligence. They're going to take traffic studies in terms of the number of people and with the speed. They're going to have their speed table up there. And then we're going to do whatever we have to do to try and help these people, which is since Veterans Field has been put up and since the light is there, has been more and more of a concern. And we're trying to also work in conjunction with the county to try and get the light at the corner of Market and Erie to be synchronized. And I think what was happening once the power went out, or once they have a power outage, the sync goes out of sync. So I think, Bob, did you go and talk to them?
Actually, I sent an email Monday morning to Joe Femia, Gary Ascles, and Eugene Murphy.
Okay.
to look on that, and I believe, did you call him directly, Councilman?
I called him a couple weeks ago, but,
Yes.
yeah.
And the councilman's on it too. He has his cell phone number.
Okay, so
Which
we're
if they don't
working,
fix it, at the next
Yeah, we'll
meeting,
just
we're
keep
gonna put
calling.
that on the air.
Yeah, we'll give everybody's phone number.
We're gonna give everybody's cell phone number out, and we'll give it to the record, and the news is here.
there were citizen concerns, just like on the President Street and the 9th Street, and the mayor called the town meeting, it was well attended, and we're gonna continue to work on that issue.
Ordinance for first reading is ordinance 1567-13. An ordinance amending chapter 196 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, section 49 entitled Section 14 Prohibited Turns at Intersections to include additional intersections, and they are Erie at Dewey, Erie Street at Steinway Road, Erie Street, Hobson Avenue, and Market Street, making a right-hand turn onto Mayhill.
Okay,
This will be the first reading.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Halco, I need a second.
Second.
Second by Ms. Mazer. Roll call, please.
Councilman Samaluka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazer?
Yes.
Councilman Halco?
Yes.
Councilman Camilleri?
Yes.
Council President Conti?
Yes.
Be resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Saddlebrook that the ordinance amending Chapter 196 entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 49 entitled Schedule 16, prohibited uses of intersections to include additional intersections heretofore passed on first reading, be further considered for final passage at a meeting to be held on the 12th day of December, 2013, at 7 o'clock p.m., or sooner after as the matter can be reached at the Municipal Building, 93 Market Street, and that at such time and place all persons interested be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance according to law, with the notice of its introduction and passage on first reading, and of the time and place when and where said ordinance will be further considered for final
I
passage.
need a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Samaluka,
Second.
second by Mr. Halco, roll call.
Councilman Samaluka?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mazer?
Yes.
Councilman Halco?
Yes.
Councilman Camilleri?
Yes.
Council President Conti?
Yes.
All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine and non-controversial by the Township Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member or member so requested, in which case the item or items will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. The one motion signifies adoption of all resolutions, receive and file letters, correspondence, reports, and approval of minutes and applications. And not part of the consent agenda will be resolution number 6, approve payment of bills for Costa Engineering.
I need a motion.
Council President, if I may,
Yes.
ask, if you could pull correspondence number 1, if Pete can read that, please? Thank you. Your letter.
We'll vote on this.
Yeah, we'll vote on that.
Okay,
We'll vote on that.
we'll pull and read it and vote on
Pull it,
this.
read it, and we'll vote on it separate. Okay. Okay, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Halco.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Mazer. All in favor?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, correspondence, I'm sorry, we have resolution number 6, approve the payment of bills, Costa Engineering.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Mazer. Roll call, please.
Councilman Samaluka?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Mazer?
Yes.
Councilman Halco?
Yes.
Councilman Camilleri?
Yes.
Council President Conti?
Yes.
And correspondence number 1 is from the New York Susquehanna and Western Railroad Corporation. It's dated October 25th, 2013. To the Honorable Karen A. Chamberlain, Mayor, Township of Saddlebrook. Read November 12th, 2013 council meeting. Dear Mayor Chamberlain, I received your October 21st, 2013 letter noting complaints regarding train operations. Unfortunately, I have a prior commitment on November 12th, which cannot be changed, and I will not be able to attend a council meeting on that day. As we have discussed in the past, The most productive way for us to address concerns regarding train operations is to have specifics, parentheses, days and times, that the NYS&W's operations generated complaints. We often have the ability to determine exactly what train operations occurred when we have specific dates and times. Without that information, we find it difficult to respond productively. We're certainly willing to address whatever fact-based concerns the township may have, and look forward to working with you in this regard. And it's signed by Nicholas Fennell, President.
If I may.
Yes.
So is it my understanding that when we're in traffic for 20 minutes or so, waiting for the train to do whatever it needs to do, that if we jot down the time and the date and possibly call this gentleman, we'll get a resolution to it? I mean, can we,
Flo, I think we
speaking
should
of-
announce his
I
phone
was just
number
gonna say,
to the
speaking of
TV.
phone numbers, his number is here and his email. I mean, they want times and dates when this happens, and it is an inconvenience, not to mention, God forbid, an emergency situation where we can't.
Thank God we have that covered, but this truly has been perpetual. And every time someone gets newly elected, that's the first thing. You go to your newly elected official where you feel that others may not have resolved something. And Joe was newly elected, and he brought it up at the last work session, so that's what prompted the letter to go out as it was. But not to say when I came in as mayor, I had meetings with the railroad, Pete was with me, and they had at that time, I indicated, my biggest complaint was the fact that the freight trains that are 20 minutes plus seem to go through town at peak hours,
Right.
work hours, school hours. There's not one person in this town who has not been frustrated by those trains. We had also given them the police information. Now, they are being invited to every council meeting until they show up in front of the full council. And then you can be sure that through every method of communication, the public will know. And if we have to move this meeting to the senior center or to the Saddlebrook High School auditorium to put some pressure on, that's the way we're going to do it. So I have no problem. And for the press's sake and for the public, Mr. Nathan R. Fennell, he's the president, and his phone number is 607-547-2555. And if you'd like to email, it's www.nysw.com, New York Susquehanna Railroad, nysw.com. And
On the website.
we don't have a problem.
We, if I may?
Yes.
Anthony can put it on the bulletin board, Joe will get it on. I mean, in reality, the federal government has jurisdiction, but in my latter discussions with them, the fact of the matter were those peak hours. And they seem to have said at that time, but I guess they wanted to just tell me a little bit about what they thought I wanted to hear. Oh, we'll try to improve that. But there was no improvement, nothing at all. But that doesn't mean the fight is not over. It's still continuing, and we'll do the best we can for the purpose of the residents. Rob, I know you know, Mr., I'm sure.
Mayor, just one thing to add. Every crossing has a number. So if you're gonna send an email, if you call somebody, just give that number.
We'll have to post that.
Every single crossing in the state of New Jersey has a crossing number.
I would think maybe to be more productive, we've done this in the past, when we've asked the public to contact Town Hall through Pete, if they had any problems with property maintenance issues. We also, Larry brought up trees, so we announced if you had a problem with trees that looked like they were falling down, or there was an issue, call Town Hall. This may be, I'm sorry, Pete, but this may be one of those issues, because what's gonna happen is, when we bring the guy in, he's gonna say, I wrote you a letter on whatever day it is, and I told you, give me specifics. So I think we have to, like he's saying, he's telling you the parameters. Give me some times and dates, so if anybody out in the public gets stuck in this in this train problem, and obviously a lot of people do because it's been an issue for years and years. Take it down, when you started sitting in traffic, when the railroad crossing went up, what day, what direction you were traveling in. It's generally Mayhill, and it's Midland Avenue. You're going southbound on Mayhill, northbound on Mayhill, or northbound or
Saddle River
southbound.
Road.
And Saddle River Road, although I really haven't gotten
Mayhill's the
caught.
worst, I think.
Yeah,
Then
Mayhill
Midland's
is the
second.
worst. But
And then Saddle
just
River.
give a call, say 5:20 PM to 5:40 PM, northbound on Mayhill, and we'll try and compile as much data as possible, and that may be helpful to him, because I know what's gonna happen. He's gonna come back and say, you didn't give me any data, so this meeting is useless. So
He's
let's
had
give him the data.
He's had data from the police from years ago.
Yeah, well, let's give him
The
some new
few
data.
times that the calls came in, because everybody gets so frustrated when they make the call once, twice, 3 times, and there's no end result, then they get disgusted and don't want to call. And then I sit as mayor at those train tracks, and I get more frustrated, because I'm mayor, and here I am, and I can't do anything. And that
So we're
aggravates me.
asking for some activism from the members of the public if they get stuck in these traffic jams caused by the railroad crossing.
Okay, I'm gonna need a motion.
To receive and file.
Receive and file.
Motion to receive and file, yeah.
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Mazur, second. Second by Mr. Halko. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's move on to old business.
Yes.
I'm sorry?
One, can I respond?
Absolutely.
We had a request concerning the Market Street improvement and what the costs were for the police. In checking back with the interlocal agreement with Bergen County that was dated August 2007, Saddlebrook was responsible for the police, and I think that's standard, Rob, with the county. Was responsible for any police coverage for the work. We did spend $15,313.14 for police overtime during the project, and this was last year, 2012. And checking with the police department, we logged a total of 230 hours of using manpower of the police staff that was there at the time, instead of overtime. And the savings, if we use just a patrolman's salary, and there were sergeants, lieutenants, and captains who did work these shifts because they were on duty, we probably saved a minimum of 20 to 25,000, just without rank, just using patrolmen. It wasn't in the bid documents. There was, if the contractor was responsible, he would build us. It would have been built into the bid specs. We didn't pay anything. There was no billing for the police overtime because the township was responsible for the police coverage. So we did pay overtime. We did use manpower. I'm sure the chief, the deputy chief, and the captains certainly wouldn't jeopardize anybody in town, or if there was an emergency, they'd be able to leave that post. Just to give you a wrap-up of what the costs were.
I think you did a good job, Pete, and I know myself, Captain McNally, who's in charge of
Yes.
quite a bit of the trafficking, he himself was out there. So again, when it comes to Saddlebrook and the need arises, I think everyone, no matter what department, they pitch in and do their job. And I know the department was working very, very carefully and concerned about the expenditure of overtime, and here we ended up saving because of them, and the town was still serviced with our patrol division.
I just have a question to Pete. The Home Depot, when did they stop paying for that crossing guard? Do you know off the top of your head?
2005, I believe?
They stopped paying in 2005.
Yes.
So we haven't
2005.
received anything since 2005.
Well, we
Until
did.
we came into
settled,
office.
we negotiated with Home Depot, and we did receive payment, up
No,
until
but-
the time they left.
But it lay dormant.
Yeah.
Nobody
We just
took
picked it
the
up a year ago.
initiative until we were elected, and we went to go after the money. It was worth doing.
So we did get money out of it.
Yes.
And just a question to the engineer. Rob, as far as the traffic lights on Market Street go, when did the county come into this project, and.
Actually, that's what I wanted to clarify for the record. Pete said 2007. There was an agreement in 2007, but it was never brought to fruition. We actually,
Well, we amended it, the original.
but the amendment was, I believe, in 2012 or 2011.
Could be.
But that lay dormant also.
Right.
That's the point I think Anthony's trying to make.
I just heard something earlier this evening, so I just want to
There was no
clarify for the
activity or
record.
action by the elected officials
Right, it
to
was in-
have that light installed.
Correct.
When it was approved in 2007 or brought to the attention. The same thing with the lack of collecting the school crossing guard monies.
And then when did they approve
That's when our
to pay
council
for the
president
traffic
was
light?
here.
When did that come about?
2011 or 12.
Okay, so there was nothing in, that the county was gonna pay for the cost of the traffic light prior
What you need to do is make a concept and come up with an estimate of cost, because then you're gonna enter into an interlocal agreement with the county as far as what does that cost. So you can't put the chicken before the egg.
Okay,
So
and that's what
we're
we're currently
nearly
doing
there.
on Floral Lane.
Correct.
Okay, we're at the
We're-
concept process. and-
We're at the concept, we're a little bit further down the road than a concept
All right,
process.
then once that all gets established, and if there's any property that needs to be acquired,
The town will be responsible to acquire property.
and then after that, we would approach the county again and see if they would be willing
No,
to.
we will, at that stage,
Have our drawings.
you'll have an agreement in place.
Okay, and then they would agree to pay for the traffic.
The county right now, once this ordinance goes through, they know it's real. So now they'll commit resources to it also, which they have already. Again, we've had numerous meetings with the county already on this.
Mayor, I just heard a comment from the back of the room about this, the same people up here now as in 2005. That's incorrect. There's only one person out of the 5 council people that were here in 2005. Now, Mr. Ratajczyk had indicated that when he said something before in regard to the United Water, that it was just a figure of speech. Well, the problem is that a lot of people listen to people get up at the podium and believe that it's actual facts that are being presented. The quote was, "Other towns had everybody there." Well, I did contact, like I said, Mr. Scheingold from the record, and I also contacted a representative of United Water. There were a total of 12 people there. United Water services 66 towns in New Jersey.
How many from
An
South?
average of 6 elected officials and an administrator from each town. It's approximately 400 people. There were 3 administrators, no elected officials, 0. There were 3 administrators from towns up, right abutting the reservoir up there. There was no elected officials from any of the 66 towns. So there were 3 representatives out of a possible 400. In regard to the senior housing, and again, there was something that was set up there that said, well, there's only going to be 1 or 2 Saddlebrook residents that are going to get there. Well, what is that based on? It's based on nothing. It's just based on someone's opinion, someone's just train of thought that they came up with. Who says it's 1 or 2 people that are going to be from Saddlebrook? Let me tell you, how many people from Saddlebrook knew that there was a senior housing project that went up in Northvale and in Tenafly and in North Arlington? Probably nobody. So the best bet to get Saddlebrook people in there is to just be quiet. Because we'll know when it's being built, but how is somebody from North Arlington gonna know and just make their applications? I can tell you, no one from Saddlebrook is up in the Tenafly Senior Complex. There's no one from Saddlebrook in the North Arlington Senior Complex. Their records show, their statistics show, and we could just go by statistics, that a vast majority of the people living in these complexes are from the town that they're built in. And hopefully, it'll remain the same. And one other thing on the senior housing. We got accused of rushing the whole project. And then, in the next breath, nothing's being done, so I just don't get it. Did we move too fast, or are we not moving too fast? So when somebody gets up there and talks out of both sides of his mouth, it just makes it confusing for the rest of us. Thank you.
Anybody else? This is old business.
I believe this may be under old business, however, it still may be new business. Now that we've had the second reading on the bond, the 550, okay, Pete and I and Detective Laurentino and Anthony, we had met with the computer firm for the police department. Since I know we have advertising time to wait, I'd like to make sure that we keep this on the agenda, because my goal is to get that equipment down there either the very beginning of January or towards the end. And as you members may remember, we had hoped to acquire some new computers for the town hall, but in anticipation of $100,000 being earmarked for the police. However, that came in higher, it's closer to 150, and my recommendation was that's the important place, and Pete even said it, we could get by with the aged computers we have. So this bond money is being issued for those computers, and I'd like to keep that going so we don't lose time. I want to see the progress, and we made a commitment to them. Thank you.
Any other old business? I do have one. We passed, I guess, their ordinance for the four-way stop over by Wilson Street, right? That's passed, Pete?
Yes.
I almost saw a kid, 12-year-old boy, get hit by a bicycle today. Just missed him.
Wow.
They ran a stop sign. Something's gotta be done there. It's just, it's gonna happen. You know how bad it was, Bob? You were
Yes.
out there. I was with you, and
Yes.
you were dodging the vehicles. It's that bad. If a four-way stop, we gotta do it. I mean, I know people were brought up saying, well, you're hurting the residents living in that area. Listen, I live in that area. I live right there. It's dangerous. It is dangerous. Something's gotta be done. We seriously have to look into speed tables, something, four-way stop, but something has to be done. And I'm gonna keep pushing it because, like I said,
Safety issue.
12-year-old boy almost got hit today on a bicycle. And there's little children on that corner that play there in that front yard.
That's bad.
Rich, can I just, somebody went through the stop sign and almost hit him?
Yeah,
So it's an enforcement issue then,
but
right?
still,
I
regardless,
understand that, but I mean, it is an enforcement issue
Mhm.
that,
right? So
I mean, so
something,
if we had 10 stop signs up there and that person was still driving and they were gonna go through the stop sign, they were still gonna go through.
right.
I'm just,
Yeah,
it is a dangerous intersection.
sure,
I'll
whether
give you
we
that.
do, like I said, a four-way, because
I mean, you need to
they
slow-
use Wilson Street as a cut-through, and they fly down Plaza Road, and they just keep going. And Bob, you saw that first thing for
There's no
yourself.
question.
Whether you put speed tables up, we talked about that, look really seriously, look into that.
So get a price and let's talk about it.
So what you need to do, the point I'm trying to make is you need to force these people to stop. And speed tables would
Probably
force
do
them
that.
to stop. I mean,
It would slow them down.
it would at least slow them down. I mean, the stop signs aren't working.
No, not at all, not at all. Something, like I said, it's gotta be done. Okay, any other old business? Any new business?
No, that we haven't talked about, for me.
Just on a new business, it was brought up that we're in secret meetings with developers. I know, I have not met with a developer. I know
Not met with a
in a secret meeting or have done anything, or a private meeting, or a meeting that wasn't here.
I don't think any of us have. Whenever we have a meeting, it's in the town hall. If I'm meeting as mayor, which is not, it's been so infrequently, it's Pete, it's someone in the room. I'm never alone with anyone. And I have no idea what the comment was referring to.
Any other new business? No? No? Council comments? Council comments, any council comments?
Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Big mouth. Number one, I'd just like to say thank you to all the veterans. I apologize to the VFW and the veterans for not being there on Monday. Unfortunately, I had a work engagement that I could not put off. So again, I thank you for all you've done and all that you continue to do. And I also want to congratulate the Board of Ed victors. I think we have Ms. Scanapieko, Mr. Garrick, Mr. Accomando, Ms. Robinson, and Ms. Barali. I know you're going to do a good job for the township and for the children of the township. And also, my condolences for the people that lost the election. You had good intentions, and I know how hard it is to run and to lose. I've won, and winning is a lot better. But thank you for taking the time and the effort to go out there and try and make a difference in the community. And again, happy Thanksgiving.
Again, I'm just going to reiterate what Andrew said to the veterans. I also working that day, and I just couldn't break free. We'll keep you in our prayers. I mean, we appreciate what you've done. We appreciate what the armed forces are doing for us now. And to everybody, have a happy and healthy Thanksgiving. Mary, you want to talk about the tree lighting?
Yes, I was waiting for council comments too.
Yes, I'd like to just wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving, and everybody's wrapping up their football seasons this Saturday. The high school, come out and support them, and to the seniors there in high school, good luck to you guys. Our recreation football, the senior team, we had great success. We won our division. We won our 2 playoff games, and for us, we're in the Super Bowl crossover on Saturday. It's a great bunch of kids, and you got to just see them play. They're really good. If you can come support them, 1:30 Saturday, it's in Elmwood Park.
And just if I may add, George Kawadi will be taping that game, so you will be able to see it on TV. So
Oh,
thank you,
wow.
George.
Thank you, George.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to say to the veterans and their families how very grateful we are for their sacrifices, commitment, those who have passed before us and those that fight today. This township gratefully acknowledges all of you. It's not an easy task, and freedom's not free, but at least we maintain that freedom because of all of you good veterans and families there. And I was proud to read in the shopper even that the Korean War vets were at Franklin School. And I think that's a great thing, that our children, through the educational systems and through family and through their home life, become aware, and particularly in a case like this when we actually had a vet, go and give them the whole real take on what war was all about. And at the same time, I know it was mentioned here this evening with these shootings that are going on, the fear factor that we live with, unfortunately, today, and that extends to our family and children. But at least we knew one thing, we did have the benefit of police protection immediately. And I personally, on behalf of the council and myself, would like to thank Officer Mike Giuliano, who was one of the first to arrive at the scenes, and he was followed by Officer John Trito, and he responded to secure the areas, and then Sergeant William Havison supervised the radio communications, which couldn't have been easy because everybody had to have been in a panic. And in the meantime, the town was still in a good safety level, and I'd like to thank Officer Scott Haberman for really paying close attention to what was happening in our own town. So, with grateful thanks, with our prayers, I say to the Saddlebrook policemen, stay safe, and I hope God keeps you and your family well, and thank you so much for the help. And then I'd like to announce a happy item. Our annual tree lighting ceremony will be, as always, the day after Thanksgiving, which this year is Friday, November 29th. It's a simple ceremony, but it's nice to come to. So if anyone out there would like to volunteer, whether by music or prose or anything at all in the Christmas spirit, just give us a call. But we're going to have this at 6 o'clock here at Town Hall. And the Santa will be here, of course, on the fire truck. And we'll have a few little bit of refreshments and photos with Santa inside here. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Enjoy with your families. God bless. Thank you.
Okay, just want to say happy Thanksgiving, and need a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.